Namaste. Namaste to all of you. Hope you have been doing well. And today is Yugadi. Yugadi is the new year for South Indians and Maharashtrians. We already had a new year on January 1st, 2022. That was according to the Gregorian calendar, the solar calendar. This is the Hindu calendar, the lunar. Hindus follow the movement of the moon in measuring time and years. Because it's very hot in India, so we welcome the moon and follow the path of the moon. So I wish you on this day, the New Year day, once more. And for a yogi, every day is a new day, because it doesn't carry the burden of the past. It is only when you carry the burden of the past, everything is old and stale and boring. If you can leave it behind and learn the wise lessons, learn lessons from the past, which gives you wisdom. Wisdom doesn't give you any burden. It is very light. Memories are very heavy. It's a big load. So you have to convert memories into wisdom, which will guide your activities and thoughts and performance today and for tomorrow. That means we must be able to process information in such a way it brings light and wisdom, not memories and burden and stale knowledge. So I wish you on this new year, according to the Hindu calendar, and that's it. Let's have a new beginning. And today, we are from today onwards, about 10 to 11 lectures, we shall be discussing the Patanjali Yogasutras. Yogasutras composed by Patanjali Maharshi. Most of you are yogis because you practice yoga every day. Some of you teach yoga teachers. Some of you are yoga practitioners. And for all of us, whether you are a practitioner or a teacher or a philosopher of yoga, Patanjali is the textbook, the book that we refer for insight. And he is supposedly the father of yoga. The yoga has been in practice before him, but he is the one who collected all these tidbits of yoga or insights of various yogis, collected them like Vyasa, collected them and put them in the sutra format. So there are about 195 sutras. Sutra means short, meaningful, pithy statements. They are like teacher's notes. A teacher can handle it, unpack it. So you require the help of a teacher to understand, to unpack, to decode the sutras. And therefore, yoga is a very ancient science of self-development. That's the theme of yoga. How to develop yourself, integrate yourself, know yourself. Because for you, yourself is the central factor of your life, isn't it? Without you, there is nothing. So that self, what are its various dimensions, possibilities, depth, width? So one has to understand the self, which is a central factor of your life experience. Everything is connected to that, like the hub of a wheel. So yoga is very ancient discipline or science, philosophy, you can say, of self-understanding and self-unfoldment, self-development. Of course, these are all loaded words. Self is a loaded word. You have to spend your whole life to understand what self is. Still, you don't understand. That is the depth of this experience of the self, the I, as they say. And development means de-envelope. There are several envelopes around the self. So de-envelope, open it up, unfold it, and experience it deeply. So that's the meaning of self-development or self-unfoldment, various ways it is said. Though yoga is very ancient science practice, it is still relevant. That's the beauty of yoga. It never become old. Even now, today, 3% of the world population practice yoga. It's flourishing. It is relevant. That's the beauty of yoga. It's not that we are studying some old story or myth. We are studying something which is relevant, which is practiced by a large number of world population. And not only that, some of the insights of yoga is being verified by modern science, psychology. Carl Jung was a great teacher of yoga or admirer of yoga. Carl Jung, the great psychologist. So, some of the insights and findings of yoga are being corroborated by modern psychology, brain science, neuroscience, and even medicine, medical science. They all are recommending the practice of yoga. So it is not just an old science, it is very relevant to the modern times and is accepted by scientists, philosophers, and medical practitioners. That's why most of us follow the discipline of yoga. So let's not write it off as an old science. It is very much modern. So that's the importance of yoga. And it also influences our idea of health, public health, and personal health, and public well-being. And again, yoga reduces your dependence. The practice of yoga reduces your dependence on these very expensive corporate-driven modern therapy models. Yoga is more preventive than curative from that standpoint. By practicing yoga, you can remain a healthy, happy, harmonious, peaceful person. You don't have to depend upon the modern medical system for securing your health. Of course, in catastrophic situation, you may have to go to the hospitals, but why should you create such a situation? If you are a peaceful, harmonious, balanced person, you don't create a situation where you have to go to these expensive therapy modalities. That's the importance of yoga. It gives you your agency back, your freedom, your agency, your individuality back, which we have outsourced to the other people. That's the importance of yoga. You can become the master of your health, one who can invoke your health from within yourself. After the word for health in Sanskritam or Indian tradition is swasthada, swasthyam. I think we have discussed it several times. Swasthada means swasminstaha, one who is dependent upon oneself for health. You don't depend upon others. Your dependence will be minimal if you are a yogi. So these are the importance of yoga. Now we are celebrating, June 21st as the International Day of Yoga. Meaning the whole world community accepted warmly, embracing the philosophy and practice of yoga. I'm just trying to explain to you what is the importance of yoga. You are not just a curious observer of yoga. You are a deep, convinced practitioner of yoga. Again, yoga opens, the practice of yoga opens the magical inner world of your psyche. Because of our preoccupation with the outer world, of acquiring, aggrandizing, and enjoying and consuming, we are not aware of the inner world. There is a very rich, very layered, and very complex inner world, which we are not aware of. We are absolutely ignorant of that world. Your emotional world, your intellectual world, your imagination world, your spiritual life. We are not aware of that. We are completely ignorant. As a result of that, we are living a very shallow life, superficial life. We have no inner resource to bank upon, to depend upon. There are infinite resources inside you. When there is a problem, relational problem, health problem, social problem, an emotional problem, you can go deep into yourself and invoke those inner resources. So there is a very rich inner resource we can depend upon, we can tap into, which we are not doing. It is something like sitting on a huge treasure. You think you are a beggar. So yoga opens up that inner life for you. And you can bring that inner life in enriching your outer life also. It is not that inner life is beyond your reach. You can invoke that inner life to enrich your outer life of relationship and interactions with the world. So that's another aspect of yoga. But that aspect is completely forgotten, completely hidden, completely ignored in our life. And hence the importance of yoga. Again, yoga is a discipline, not just a philosophy. It's not an armchair philosophy that I can sit in a chair and cerebrally discuss with the people. Yoga will not be understood or appreciated unless you practice it. It is a life-transforming discipline. It's not just a philosophy. As you practice it, your life transforms. You move with the rhythm of yoga. A yogi is a practitioner. Of course, whatever he understands or she understands, he practices it and enjoys it and experiences it. That's why it's called as a kind of phenomenological approach that yoga gives you. It's not just a philosophical. Phenomenology means it's a lived experience. Physically, you experience it, the beauty and the benefit of yoga. And thus it becomes very important for the modern individual who is disenchanted with the world, disenchanted with the life. bored with the life. A practitioner of yoga can never be bored with the life. Because every day it's a new day for that person. Every time you have access to this infinite energy and resource. So yoga is a kind of sadhana. Sadhana means you are experiencing and practicing and experiencing. That's why it's called a sadhana. You can taste the fruits of yoga every day in your life. It is not just sitting in your brain. It has gone deep into your heart and your muscles and your marrows and your bones. That's why a yoga practitioner become a yogi, a very competent and capable person. So I think I have sold you yoga. I should not singing to the choir, isn't it? Most of you are yogis. I don't have to sell you yoga, the importance of yoga. I myself practice yoga every day. I spend 1.5 hours every day for yoga practice. So I would like you also to follow the practice of yoga and change the quality of your life so that you can enjoy, you can understand what is going on around you, within you. What's happening to the other person? What's happening to the world? Why Putin is invading Ukraine? We have to understand that. That's a key of that person who is mad after power and paranoid about other people. This poor country, Ukraine, they have no power to attack him. But still he feels. So why somebody is behaving like that? Why there is aggression in the world? Why there is selfishness in the world? Why there is aggrandizement? Why there is slavery? Why there is poverty? Even to understand all this, you must be a yogi. The clarity of a yoga is necessary to understand what is happening and respond appropriately to the situation according to your capacity. If you overdo things, then you become a victim. You become a sufferer. We will be able to respond to what is happening in the world according to your capacity. So, yoga is very, very important in life. And we are the beneficiaries of the rich tradition. So many yogis, munis, rishis, they learned it, practiced it, benefited from it, and then from their experience, they have been conveying this wisdom to all of us. Now, when we think of yoga, it's not a monolithic structure. There are several types of yoga. What are the types of yoga? You know, the familiar categories of yoga: Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga. These everybody knows. Swami Vivekananda classified yoga into these 4 categories. And then there are other types of yoga also. Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is again very popular. Kundalini Yoga, Japa Yoga. These are all the classifications. I will be coming to these classifications so that we understand what exactly the heart of yoga. Then there is modern varieties of yoga also. Bikram Yoga. Have you heard that Bikram Yoga? Lot of heat and lot of abuses. Isn't it? Lot of self-flagelling. That kind of yoga is there. Maharshi's yoga is there. Iyengar's yoga is there. Look, Iyengar was a great practitioner of yoga who himself was benefited from the practice of yoga. So similarly, Vinyasa Yoga, that slow flowing yoga, which even old people can practice and feel healthy. So there is many kinds of yoga, and a little bit of understanding all these yogas are very, very important so that we can situate ourselves in our practice properly. So, Bhakti Yoga, we all know, a life of surrender to the divine, Bhakti Yoga. When you surrender, things become very simple. How to surrender is a big question. How do I surrender? But anyway, let's have the word. A life of surrender to the universal rhythm or the will of the Lord. And it's very beautiful. You live like a child around the mother. The mother takes care of it. Or the Lord takes care of it. So you can go to sleep and get a good sleep every day. There is no burden at all. How do I surrender? Maybe you can say every day, I surrender myself. Maybe offer a flower. That way you can say, every day, offer a flower. Every day, light a lamp. Or chant the mantra, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, I surrender myself to the Lord. Or I surrender myself to the rhythm of the universe. Rock and roll, as they say. So Bhakti Yoga is a life of surrender. Whatever happens will happen. There is no point in fretting and fuming. Let us flow with the flow of the world, rhythm of the world. That could be the Bhakti Yoga. Of course, you can go on and on. There are many textbooks on Bhakti Yoga. Then there is, let's say, Karma Yoga. You all know that. I'm just briefly touching upon these various kinds of yoga. Karma Yoga is whatever you do, you're supposed to do certain things. You have certain responsibilities in this world. As a family person, as a citizen, as an employee, as an employer, you have certain responsibilities. And you have to do that, whether you like it or not. So whatever you do, since you have to do it, start liking what you are doing. So, do your work happily. Do your work as an offering. So instead of offering a flower, now you offer your duties, your work. And you know what are your duties and responsibilities. If you don't know, then you can ask your boss or your parents or your teachers or your neighbor. They will tell you what are your client, they will tell you what are your duties. If you don't know. So do your work as an offering. That become Karma Yoga. For that you should know what are your capabilities, what is your place in society. So that's become Karma Yoga. Then you have Raja Yoga. So whatever we are going to discuss is Raja Yoga. What is Raja Yoga? The king of yoga. This is the king among yoga. Especially Raja Yoga is compared with the Hatha Yoga, which I will be coming later. Hatha Yoga. The word Raja Yoga comes in the Hatha Yoga Pratipika. It's not in Patanjali's Yogasutras. Patanjali doesn't give this name to Patanjali Yoga. But in Hatha Yoga Pratipika, SWAMI Atmarama, there is one sloka which says, what I am teaching is Hatha Yoga. There is something called Raja Yoga also. Raja Yoga seems to be the apex yoga. Hatha Yoga seems to be the base, the beginner's yoga. Then there is the Raja Yoga. So you can compare Raja Yoga and Hatha Yoga. I will be coming to it later. So what is Raja Yoga, which we are going to discuss? These 10 lectures will be on Raja Yoga, the higher type of yoga. So we have seen Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga. Then there is Jnana Yoga, listening to the scriptures, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, meditation, etc. These are the Jnana Yoga, which is described in the Upanishad and the Brahma Sutra, and which is the very theme of Advaita Vedanta or Vedanta. Now you also have the Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga is very much connected with the Hatha Yoga. You know, the chakras and the nadis, the padmas, and the Kundalini awakening. those practices. That's called Kundalini Yoga. Some of you are practitioners of Kundalini Yoga. I don't know whether Kundalini is awakened yet or not. Some people claim their Kundalini is awakened. Some people say, I have no Kundalini, not yet. I have not discovered it. So there is Kundalini Yoga, Hatha Yoga, so Iyengar Yoga, Maharshi Yoga, Whiskey Yoga also I heard somewhere. What is Whiskey Yoga? You take whiskey and practice yoga. It's very interesting, isn't it? You know, it is a very popular yoga now. Take a couple of drinks and then practice yoga. Then you have got Tantra Yoga. Many types of yogas are there. So what yoga you will choose? Patanjali Yoga will help you. This 195 sutras will help you understand what is this secret of, what is the essence of yoga. Now, let us discuss the word meaning of yoga. Because this is a modern technique. Pick up keywords and try to understand what does the word yoga mean. I can give you 4 or 5 meanings. One meaning of yoga is yoga to unite. That is one meaning of yoga. To unite, to integrate, to include. That's yoga. Include in a meaningful way. It's not a just hodgepodge collection of things. Include in a meaningful way. To integrate, to include. Include with what are you including, what are you integrating with. All those we'll see. Let us just see the meaning of the word. Yoga means to integrate, to include, to connect. One meaning of yoga. So when I connect with you, then we become yogis. When I connect with more and more people, integrate more and more ecosystems, then I become a better yogi. So that is one meaning. So the family, that's an integrated unit. It's a yoga unit. Or the country is an integrated unit. It's a yoga unit. And integration can be within yourself also. The body, mind, ego, integration. Thoughts, emotions and will, you integrate. At this point, they are all flying at different directions. Your will is somewhere, your thoughts are somewhere, your emotions are somewhere, your passions, they all pull at each other, contradictory directions, and you feel completely puzzled and lost and confused. So how do you integrate all this and become a solid, powerful individual? So one meaning of yoga is integration, integral life. There is no conflict. A conflict-free life is the meaning of yoga. Neither there is conflict inside, nor are you in conflict with the world outside. Complete harmony. Yoga means to unite. The more you unite, the more you become a yogi. Other meaning of yoga is viyoga, disunite, detach. So this seems to be opposite meaning, isn't it? First, just now you say yoga means to connect, to unite. Now you say yoga means to disconnect, detach. Yes, that also is a meaning of yoga. Unless you are detached, you will not be able to unite or to attach. So to unite things, you need a higher perspective. With the lower perspective, you will not be able to unite, integrate, see the meaning and purpose of things. Why something is happening the way it is happening. We will not be known unless you have got a higher standpoint. So to get that higher standpoint, you must develop that detachment. So yoga can mean a detached observation of ability to detach and then observe. and then relate. If you are very much attached, your efficiency is compromised. If you are detached, then you have a broader perspective and become a much more efficient and capable person. That's why the doctors, a famous heart surgeon, he cannot perform surgery on his own wife and children because he is attached. His hand shakes. But if you are detached, you can perform better. Attached, then you compromise your efficiency. So detachment, yoga, another meaning of yoga. So they are all connected concepts. They are not disconnected concepts. Attachment and detachment and efficiency, or union and disunion. They are all connected concepts. Then another meaning of yoga is nirodhe. Nirodhe means restrain, discipline, restraining yourself. You want to spit on the face of the other person, then you restrain yourself. You swallow the spit. You want to slap the other, but you restrain yourself. Haven't you heard? Before you leap, take a look. Before you jump, take a look. Before you shoot the letter, count to 10. So restrain. A certain ability to control your impulsive responses. I'll be coming to all these details. We have plenty of time to discuss all those things. How do you do all this? That's our job. We'll be doing that. So, Viyoge, Nirodhe. Actually, the second sutra, Patanjali, this book is Yoga, Chittavritti, Nirodha. Yoga is restraining thoughts, observing thoughts, managing thoughts. We'll see how I will be doing all that. So, Nirodhe, another meaning. Third meaning is Samatve. Samatva. Samatva means balancing. Ability to balance. Haven't you seen a juggler, 10 balls and he juggles with that? Or when you are walking on a tight rope across a Niagara, you have to balance, isn't it? At home, you have to balance between the different demands on your energy, your wife, your children, your in-laws, your uncles, your employees. Everybody is demanding on your limited resources, and then how do you balance them and take decisions? It's a great art of juggling the balls. So yoga means samatve, trying to balance things. How do you do that? How do you do that? It also can mean ekagrata. Ekagrata means ability to focus. Ekagrata. Our ability to focus is compromised too much these days. Our attention span is very short. If I speak for 1 hour, you really listen to me only for 10 minutes. Rest of the time your thoughts are flying all over. You are not listening. Words are only tickling your tympanum, that's it. It doesn't register in your brain and evoke responses from you. There is no full attention. Our capacity of attention is very much compromised these days. Information overload. So much is happening around you. So much has happened. As a result of that, we are not able to focus. Yoga gives you the capacity to focus. At least 1.5 hours, 90 minutes of concentrated attention is necessary to understand anything. So yoga gives you the ability, egagre. Then samyame, samyamam. Samyama is a technical word used in yoga. That is ability to focus very deeply, different layers of a phenomena. They cut through different layers. The gross, subtle, causal, transcendental layers. Every phenomena has got these 4 layers. For example, when you listen to me, Of course, you are listening to the words. Then you have to know the meaning of the words. Then you have to put it in a sentence. When the words are in a sentence, then their meanings, the different dimensions of meanings are evoked. Then the feeling I have behind what I'm saying, there are different dimensions of concentration. Even in a normal concentration. When your child, when your teenager son tells you, "Mommy, I love you," and immediately understand, now next he is going to ask for a loan for $50. Isn't it? You know that. There is something behind. Something behind. When somebody says, "I love you," or somebody says, "I hate you," it means that you love him so much. That's why you are saying, "I hate." So there are different layers, the ability to cut through these layers and get at the core of the word or the meaning of the word is called Samyama. That gives you the ability, which requires certain training and discipline. So yoga, the word yoga means all this. Many meanings. Now, what is the whole of Patanjali Yoga Sutra? What is the key word? The master key word. Have you thought about that? I don't know how many of you have read the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. What is the key word? One word which I can take home from all these 95 sutras. Each sutra has got so many words. What is the key word? I can give you 3 keywords. And then we can select one keyword. The 3 keywords are, one is abhyasam, practice. That is a very important keyword. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena tu krihyate. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tan nirodha Patanjali. The one keyword is abhyasam, practice. Practice makes you perfect, you know that. What to practice, how to practice, we will see. But just hold on to that word. Abhyasam, practice, every day. Whatever you are doing, you should do every day. No compromise on that. If you are learning to sit in Padmasana, practice it every day. If you are doing pranayama, practice it every day. If you are doing japa, practice it every day. So that practice makes you perfect. If you practice every day, you can even lift an elephant, they say. Every day you have to do that. Because an elephant is a little baby elephant, very easy to lift, isn't it? And every day if you do that, the elephant will grow into the huge size, 7,000 pounds or whatever. And you will be able to lift it. So practice is the key. Practice means what you do every day, lovingly. As you do it, it will grow in you. So never let your practice fall apart. Every day you have to practice. That's one keyword. Another keyword is vairagyam. Another keyword. Just put it in your software, in the brain. Vairagya. Vairagya has several meanings. But the most effective meaning of vairagya is ability to watch without reaction. Vairagya. Visheshena ragam. Vigata ragam. 2 meanings. Ability to watch without reaction, without judgment. Observation, power of observation, so that you can see the subtle nuances of things. Even the subtle movement of a facial muscle you can detect and see. When you communicate with the people, or when you observe nature, or you see a piece of art, or listen to a symphony of music, you must have the power to observe even the subtle movements and different notes. It's the power of observation. That's called vairagyam. Vairagya, some people misunderstand as I hate the world. That's not vairagya. Vairagya is the ability to observe even the subtle movement that happen in the field of your observation. And the field of your observation is both outside and inside. That also is important. Not only you observe the outside world, you also observe your inner world. What's happening when you interact with the outside world? So first word is abhyasam. Second is vairagyam. Because without vairagya, abhyasa is not possible. Practice is not possible. Because you forget, oh, I forgot today. Did you do your japa today? I forgot. Isn't it? That is because you don't have the vairagya. Your mind is loaded with various other unfulfilled desires. The third word is, important word is, viveka. Viveka khyadi. Viveka. Viveka is the ability to discern, the discernment, ability to distinguish between what is real, what is not real, or what is permanent, what is impermanent, which is very, very important in yogi's life. You should be able to distinguish between what is permanent, what is impermanent, what is fleeting, and what is real. And most of our miseries are because we are not able to distinguish between the permanent and impermanent. We give a permanent status to the impermanent. Suppose you have got a toothache, permanent or impermanent? It should be impermanent, isn't it? It cannot be there all the time. Or somebody tells you, your wife tells you, I hate you. Permanent or impermanent? It's impermanent. Tomorrow you give her a sari, gift a sari, then they'll say, I love you. Isn't it? So don't take care for the face value. Things can change. Or you say, I'm going to divorce. The wife gets a shock. But don't get upset, because tomorrow I'll come and tell you, sorry darling, sorry honey, I didn't mean that. But you didn't have the patience for that. You immediately said, then I also hate you then. Then you go away. So therefore, this ability to see what is permanent and impermanent is very, very central to yoga. If you don't have that ability and have the patience, life can become very, very miserable. You always fall between the stools. You are not able to hop from one stool to the other stool. You will not be able to walk over the eggshells, as they say, which is what life is all about. So you need that patience. But things can. This darkness, this night cannot be permanent. There will be always a beautiful morning at the end of the night. That hope is very, very important, which is called viveka. Viveka means living in hope. Don't give in to this despair and miseries. So these are the three key words: Abhyasa, Vairagya and Viveka. I'll be using it again and again. Patanjali will be using it again and again in your sutras. So that, let's see. And all of this, what is the most important word? It's very difficult. It is difficult between choosing between your two eyes. What is the most important word? But if you want me to choose a word which is very difficult, or this key word, the master key to Patanjali Yogasutra, I would say it is Vairagyam. Vairagya means ability to observe without reaction, without judgment. That is a key word of this whole Yogasutras. Vairagyam is the key. So three words I give you: Abhyasa, Vairagya and Viveka. Now, another interesting thing about modern yoga is earlier yoga was practiced by hermits and recluses. People retired from active life. They go to a cave or a hermitage or an ashram, completely detached. Cell phone is thrown away, books are thrown away, everything is given up. And they sit in a cave in Padmasana or Sukhasana and do pranayama and practice. Nothing to do with the world. It's always for a transcendental dimension. They ignore the terrestrial. That's why we call him a hermit or a retiree. But these days I find yoga is practiced not by retirees, not by hermits, not by recluses. People who are very much in the middle, thick of the world. Celebrities, professionals, doctors, engineers, lawyers, housewives. Isn't it? Even people are suffering from lifestyle diseases like diabetes, all that. People who are very much active in the world, corporate executives. These are the people, not people who are sitting in the caves and ashrams, etc. Even ashram people are very busy. I am supposed to live in an ashram, but I am more busier than you. So, yoga is not practiced by hermits now anymore. And I tell you the secret, there are no hermits anymore. There are no caves. All flattened by the modern civilization. Tunnels are there, there are no caves. So don't look for a cave anymore. You have to be in the corporate office, on the road, driving a car, or fighting a war, or maybe in the farmstead or the kitchen. So wherever you are a very active person. So yoga earlier was for people who are calm and quiet and retired. Now yoga is people who are in the thick of the world, actively engaged in the world, fighting the battles of their life, making choices, interacting with the people. That's the kind of person you are. Even if you are old and sick, either you are in the hospital or you are in a community of old people, there also you have to interact. So yoga is no more for passive people. Yoga is for active people, celebrities and professionals, and you are one of them. So that's the importance of yoga. So how do I live a yogic life in this interactive world? Even if you are a Swami, you are involved, isn't it? In the world outside. You are not living in a cave and closing your eyes. Your eyes are very, very, very much open. Information is pouring into you from both sides. So how do I live yoga in such a bhoga world? Let me put it that way. So that's the question we have to understand. So I don't have the feeling that you are all very quiet sitting in a puja room and practicing yoga. I want you to be very active and still be a yogi. There is a very interesting statement where he says, Bhoga means very active life. In that active life, you can be a yogi. Is that your dream? Or you want to retire to a forest and living in a cave? What is your demand from yoga? So you have to tell your Guru, Guruji, I am a very active person. And being an active person, can I be a yogi? Can I be the hub of a wheel? The spokes are moving, the rim is moving, and the life is moving, but the hub doesn't move, it is centered. So can I be centered in a turbulent world is the question. I am thinking, I am planning, I am working, I am interacting, I am moving from place to place, meeting different kinds of people, and still can I be a yogi? Is the question. I think if that is your demand, Patanjali has an answer to that question. And then again, yoga is not an armchair philosophy. Yoga is a bottom-up practice. It's not a top-down philosophy. It's a bottom-up practice. It begins with your dietary discipline. It's a dietary discipline. What you eat is very important. Through the mouth, of course. You can eat through all the five sense organs. So what you eat is very, very important. What you eat, that you become. The yogi is very particular about what is he or she is eating. That's what I said, bottom up. It begins from there. I'm not saying whether it should be vegetarian, non-vegetarian, or a vegan. This is not what my brief here. But what you eat, whatever you are eating, you should digest it properly. If you don't digest it, so the quantity, the time, the quality of the food that you ingest is very, very important for a yogi. Which you can do, isn't it? It's not a difficult thing. Of course it is difficult because you are such a slave of your palate. It's very difficult. But I think it's very easy once you start to practice. The quantity. You can eat anything, but you reduce the quantity so that you become digestible. You don't create any metabolic waste, much metabolic waste. What you call ama or mala. The yoga practitioner should be very careful of the quantity what she or he eats and the time. Maximum 3 times, less quantity. Then how you sit, next level, is very, very important. How you hold your body is very, very important. So practice that sitting is very important for a yogi. How you hold your body, how you conduct yourself physically. Then of course breathing, your emotions, your perceptions, processing your perceptions, and your self-understanding. All these details we can come later. But to begin with, what you eat is very, very important. Of course, there may be a lot of food items on the table, but you don't have to make your stomach a garbage can, eating everything. Take only what is necessary, what you can digest, what you feel comfortable after eating. That's what I said, it is bottom up. It's not an armchair philosophy. You discuss great things, but nothing affects your personal life. So again, yoga is a philosophy of practice of inside out. You are trying to invoke something from within. You are not trying to add on from outside. You are looking for something which is deeply hidden and latent within you. What is that? What is that deeply latent within you, which you are ignorant of? So yoga is a practice of making manifest what is unmanifest. What is hidden and invisible, make it patent and visible. So I would say it's a practice of making from inside out something which is deeply hidden within. So as a result, you are looking for inner resources. Then you can live in harmony with the world. You don't contribute to the pollution, the carbon footprint of the world. You can become an environmentalist as a result. So these are the two things you have to keep in mind. The yogi is trying to manifest which is unmanifest in herself or himself. And yogi is building from bottom up, which is changing his dietary habits, food habits, which is very, very important. Now, when we go into Patanjali's Yogasutras, we also should know what are the philosophical background on which Patanjali builds his practices. Patanjali heavily depends upon the Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy says that the world is made up of the world. Whatever you see in the world, inside and outside, is made up of three principles, three energies. You know all this. We have already discussed that. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The whole world, inside and outside, is a product of the combination, permutation and combination of three gunas, which he calls Prakriti. And you are something different from this Prakriti. Very difficult to understand that. Both inside your psychic world and the material world is made up of three gunas, and you, the individual, the self, the I, is something different from it. As Patanjali used the word Purusha for that, the person, the Purusha. The person, the indweller, or the Sakshi, or the Kshetrajna, various words are used, Atman, etc. That is your real self. But you are entangled in this Prakriti. You are entangled. You are walked into the trap of the Prakriti. Like a fish, nibbling, gets into the trap, the net. Similarly, we are walked into this Prakriti because we lost our power of observation. I'll be coming to all this as we dive into the Patanjali Yogasutras. How do we lose the power of observation? Slowly and slowly we walked into this trap. And once you are in the trap, you say, Trahimam, save me, help me, and all that. So can you simply observe the drama going on without walking into this trap? And then begin the tragedy of your life. So yoga says, or Sankhya says, there is a Purusha in you which is different from the Prakriti, but because of the unholy wedlock, the properties of the Prakriti has been taken upon yourself, and then you have completely forgotten who you are. Then you are suffering. So dukkha, suffering. So Patanjali diagnosis of your suffering is this, that there is an unholy wedlock between the Purusha and the Prakriti. That is a Sankhya philosophy. And according to Sankhya, there are many Purushas. Your Purusha, my Purusha are different. We will be coming into that, how real it is that the truth, is something beyond that, etc. But for the time being, this is enough. The Purusha. And Purusha doesn't have a gender meaning. Purusha has got neutral. Purusha means the observer, the person, relating with various bodies and all that. So Sankhya's mandate is to help you realize your Purusha inside you, who is detached from the Prakriti. And how do I do that? And Patanjali gives you the technique, the strategy, the discipline for that. To do that. First of all, understanding is important. Then you have to practice certain things, which we are going to discuss. That is a Sankhya system. Then yoga is also related to the Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga says, mere understanding that you are the Purusha, this is the Prakriti, etc. is not enough. Because you have been leading a life of ignorance for so long, and as a result of a lot of mala has been accumulated in the system. Mala. Ayurveda says ama or mala. Mala means a lot of garbage has been accumulated. And you are not able to get out of that. So the Hatha Yoga prescribes certain purificatory disciplines, practices, which they call Shat Karma. Shat Karma. So Hatha Yoga has got, Hatha Yoga also is called, so I am trying to distinguish between Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga, Patanjali Yoga. Hatha Yoga is the basic discipline on which you can build or practice Patanjali Yoga. Hatha Yoga says you cannot practice Patanjali Yoga unless you purify the system. How do you purify that? He gives you some 6 strategies in Hatha Yoga. First strategy is asanam, sitting properly. Of course, Patanjali also talks about that. Pranayama, Patanjali talks about that. But on top of that, Hatha Yoga also prescribes Shat Karmas. The Shat Karmas is very difficult to practice. Just for your information, you can study about it, Shat Karmas, by reading the book Hatha Yoga Pradipika. What are the 6? Briefly, I'll let you know. Briefly, it is Dhaudi, Basti, you can write it down. Dhaudi, Basti, Nedi, Tradaka, Nauli, and Kabalbhadi. What is Dhaudi? Internal cleaning. You have to cleanse the system. And they are giving you various methods of cleaning the system, the stomach and all that. Dhaudi. In Ayurveda called Virejanam. Virejanam means purgation. Purgation of the stomach. Removing the ama in the stomach. Then Basti. Basti is enema. Again enema. Nedi, nasal cleaning. This is a little invasive. All these are a little invasive. Tradaka, gaze. Just, a flame. And you look at that, or look at open your eyes. Generally, meditation means close your eyes, isn't it? Here you open your eyes. Look at a flame, which is not flickering. Very, very important. Then Nauli, abdominal muscle movement. Like this. You move your abdominal muscle. And then Kabalbhati is kind of cleaning the prefrontal cortex, memories and all that. So these 6 cleaning methods are given in the Shat Karma of Hatha Yoga. Then they also talk about Bandha. Bandha means Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, and Jalandhara Bandha. 3 kind of Bandha. Bandha means locking the system. When you sit cross-legged, you are locking the system. There is certain emotional control. Then this is another kind of locking. Then holding your stomach backwards, another kind of locking. So there are 3 lockings are set. Bandhas. So then mudras. Mudra is another type of locking. Mudra. Important mudras are Khechari mudra and Vajroli mudra. I don't prescribe all this to you because these are all, sometimes it violates your modern sensibilities. So I don't want to go into all this, but if you want more understanding of this, you can privately talk to me. Because some of them are very invasive. For example, Khechari mudra. Khechari mudra, you turn the tongue backward, upward, and there is some ligament which connects the tongue, and you cut that ligament so that you can fold the tongue backwards and close the cavity, which is an invasive strategy, And you cannot come back later, which I would not recommend, because more invasive and it violates your God-given physical nature. So I would not recommend that. And that is Khechari Mudra. Of course, it may have, it can create some spiritual experiences for you by doing that. Because we don't know what is happening inside your hormones and all that as a result of that. Similarly, there is Vajroli Mudra, which it's very difficult to even discuss that Vajroli Mudra. In a sexual congress, you ejaculate, and what is ejaculated is sucked back by training that groins and all that, which I don't know whether it affects your sensitivity. So I would not go into that. Personally, we can discuss if you want. It cannot be discussed. That's why it is called Rahasya Vidya. Lot of experiment is involved. Lot of invasive practices are involved. That's why Hatha Yoga is prescribed only for selective set of people who are very cross in their understanding. Of course, we prescribe brahmacharya for spiritual practice. Brahmacharya can be either you are a Nitya Brahmachari, whether you don't marry and family life, or loyalty to your spouse also can be called brahmacharya. So brahmacharya is prescribed, but not Vajroli Mudra. It's very invasive. But Hatha Yoga, those practices are there. And recently I read an article called, in the human semen, there is a compound called spermidine. Spermidine. Spermidine can help your, what they call autophagy. Autophagy, as they say. Autophagy means rebuilding your neurons. Rebuilding your neurons is possible if you can conserve your vitality. So let us discuss it in a different context. I am not going into that. There is some scientific basis to all this, so we cannot just dismiss Hatha Yoga, but it requires very close practice, close proximity with a guru, and then alone. A guru who is ethically sound, who will not exploit him. Such a guru is necessary to practice Hatha Yoga. But Hatha Yoga is an important branch of yoga discipline. But Patanjali doesn't talk about Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is necessary preliminary discipline for Patanjali Yoga. And Patanjali gives you, for cleaning your system, Patanjali gives you dietary discipline and yama and niyama. Patanjali says yama niyamas are enough for cleaning up your system and dietary discipline. So we'll take it from there. Dietary discipline and yama niyamas. Then we will run with the Patanjali. So Sankhya is a connection of Sankhya with the yoga, Hatha Yoga with the yoga, and then Vedanta with the yoga. I'm a teacher of Advaita Vedanta, so my interpretation will be based on that philosophy. And most of the commentators of Patanjali's Yogasutras are Advaita, like Vajaspati Mishra, Vyasa, or Shankara, three main commentators. And even modern commentators like Vivekananda, Shivananda, or even Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, or Iyengar. They were all Advaitins. So my interpretation of Patanjali Yogasutras, which you are going to listen, will be based on the Advaita Vedanta. Vyasa, Vajaspati Mishra, and Shankaracharya. So that's how we are going to enter into the Yogasutras. This is an introduction just to place Patanjali's Yogasutra in the whole context. The Hatha Yoga, Sankhya, Vedanta, and the modern neuroscience and brain research and all that, and our understanding of the human body. How do you place yoga practice so that it is less invasive and which doesn't affect our moral sensitivity? How do we understand Patanjali Yogasutras and prescribed for a person of active life, one who is very active in this world, who have a family and community and a country and then a corporate life, or you are very active in the world, not a recluse, a hermit sitting in the cave or a house. That is why we are going to interpret yoga, so that it can enhance the quality of your life and make yourself feel blessed. That's the project we are going to undertake. So next week, Saturday, same time, 7 o'clock, we'll meet, and my theme will be, what is the objective aim of yoga? What you can expect from yoga? What is the fruit of yoga practice? What is the objective, the goal of yoga? Unless you know the goal, you cannot take up a program of practice. You should be very clear. Where are you headed? Will you grow a pair of horns? What is happening to you? What will happen when you practice yoga? Does it tally with your objectives in life? What are your objectives? What is yoga offering you on the platter? So the goals of yoga will be discussed next Saturday, same time. Thank you very much. Have a nice week.